This poem is called My Pen. My pen draws ink from blood to paint shades of raw paint. The tip picks scars from etched graves, like a rebirth to resurrect the souls that slept. And my pen is pent up rain, except it can't be reined in. Its reasoning seasons dry lands. My pen stands like M&M wrappers littered in the slim shade. It's the way of being my only fan, without the only fans.
Say it again!
Rewind.
It's like being my only fan without the only fans.
Send us the link.
It's the heat without the blaze, the toque without the haze. It's higher levels ladders can't reach, and snakes form gateways. Writing is my pen's biggest escape. It's the source of all light, hot sauce on cold fries, sore thighs rubbed by fructose friction. It's bittersweet intimacy that infants seek, and their sickly sweet teeth birth resilient seeds. It's the desolate deserts need to moisten their mouths. My pen penetrates predators, pulls prayers from prey. It fetches sunsets from sunrise, traps moonlight through midnight. Horizons on the vertical, whirlwind spinning vertigos, because most of you miss what is said between the lines that are penned. Have to think twice, then think again. My pen is its own intellect. It books its own flights to the divine, where stories manifest higher stories. It belongs to the one who breathes its soul in. It is carved by the Almighty, cradled by the warriors. My pen is the peacemaker. Assalamu alaikum. The next poem is called The Struggle Continues. Assimilated into similar faces, sedated by the state's resilience to silence the stigma running around our stigmatized races. We were raided, lost as we were looted, and they say the world is what we make it, but they made it a product of politicized displacement that degrades the rate of how segregated we are in the workplace, and our place at work is bordered by the hierarchy of whiteness, how our language precedes our tone of voice, how we conquer the smell of biryani with air freshener polluting the air. Are we the freshies? How we hide behind false iterations of our names in hopes they may pronounce it right, but how wrong it is to shelter identity under ethnic minority, already asserting white as the default. The system never quite at fault, as they quote their quotas, never working to dismantle ideological mantras. Man, the patriarch is a battle of borders, of selling arms to nations but never lending a hand to its civilians. Feeding the mouth of white supremacy with a hijab ripped off in protest is like colonialism, stealing the pearls that were cultivated, then tainted, stained the creators with blades of blood flooding, and famine dries hunger with the quench of death. They never know how acid burns less than the eyes on our chest. Never know the peak of civil unrest is a father being torn apart from the womb of a daughter, by bullets firing, cries ascending, tears drop as lives drop dead. Culture becomes a cult of loss. How enriched architecture is the measure of how rich a country was. Until Richter scales show airstrikes instead of earthquakes. The ground covered in duars over dead bodies breathing through the sand. Our weakness is reaping human emotion. Their strength becomes an indifference to notions of different populations other to them. They congregate to communicate, policies provoking the weaponizing of identity to kill lives of the minds of police. Minds internalize systemic racial hate and abuse. When a Muslim woman is amused to amuse the masses like animals in a circus, everyone entertained by the way the ordinary Brit brutalizes the sanctity of the ethnic majority, and it's fascinating how titillating silence is. How much of a privilege it must be to choose silence at the lips of oppression, because it doesn't ever concern you to see a human being murdered for the color of their skin, religion, or gender. How identity is raped again and again. How we are still sat here debating the worth of life to our eyes. How equality is oppression to the one that holds the most power. Thank you. This poem is called They Need Us. The horizon rises vertically on seas of bat to seas, vertebrae braves, the spine of decline, wind rush, the backbone of every wind, Britain ever landed, hope's dashed, rushing back to the motherland, where the land hosts no mother tongues, just patriarchs asking to bank pay rises above cash flows, of seas soaring past the hard pass of 1948, where Empire Windrush parted to reinstate the banks of British shores. They were never sure of our presence, even during economy crashes where the profit was rationed. NHS nurses capped to 1%, as broad daylight provides the fire of class theft, in cladding wrapped around our Grenfell necks. The weight is henchmen, dressing their watermelon smiles. Uncanny when they call us mechanics. Coincidence that dates coincide. Just a fortnight between the birth of the NHS and our arrival. As we celebrate the right to survive amongst the whitewash of British denial. Summertime revival of rivers drowning identity in second-class defeat. How the motherland was born of black skin. Burned by handcuffs, bruised by paychecks, cut by housing cuts, ripped by slurs of the mouth and words carved by stairs, the N-words on repeat. Kicked stomachs, housed sons and summoned daughters sold in dreams, alive in the wake of Windrush reverie, a revelation made by Windrush generations, exposing the wealth of culture they cultivated, the art they painted, the songs they sung, the words written turned into active activism without Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Everlasting books built towers of knowledge. So let it be known that to be read is to turn the sky red, to twist the clouds and rise the roots within the ground, arm the mouths, and continue to legalize the legacy of Windrush revolutionaries. Thank you. This poem is called Women. Women bend their backs, anger their ankles to angle herself as an angel, for others to say she's not standing straight. Her posture conflates, backing her back into another, bending over then shrinking her presence to feel a little bit more human, cause don't you like that arch in her back? Don't you catch her chest in your eyes before you see her heart thumping to escape this moment of intrusion, invasion, but wait, how does she validate her presence? By presenting her desired figure to gain a desirable equal figure to a man's back pocket. If things were straightforward, then maybe she'd straighten her back. Backwards to a time where all women couldn't vote, where some still can't vote, as most of us bear the image of bearing children until she bears all that. Marriage isn't everything a woman aspires to. That our minds are intellectually wide above our cries at that time of the month, Yet you look at us with pure disgust that a bit of blood caught us the drama queens. Well, maybe we'd straighten up. If we didn't feel the male gaze devour us, if we didn't feel undermined by the belittling that makes us feel so little, if we didn't have to think twice about our postures to make us feel like imposters, see, she will always be a sweeping dichotomy that interweaves between an angelic requiem and a devilry sleeve. She's seen before she speaks her mind. Would you listen if she's not attractive to your eye? Or would you listen if she's too attractive to your eye? See, the point that points its sharp knife in your direction is that you will only listen when you cannot see her. That everything she dwells upon with a reflective intelligence is only refracted when the light does not shine upon her but within her. Society sewn strings of sexuality in the very crux of her heart. She's alive, but she finds, she walks, she drags, she's only alive to be judged as a highly sexualized being, Western or not, covered or not. Women wear the burdens of honor, innocence, and virtue on their skin, and she cannot change out of it unless society gives her new clothes. Thank you. This one's called Introvert. Introverted into only intros of introspection, reflecting an image of an index that's endless.
Come on. Say it again. Say it again. Wheel it. Say it again. Pull it.
Introverted into only intros of introspection, reflecting an image of an index that's endless. Glued to a multitude of multiple references. An orator and a spectator to the way my mind inverts inwards. Towards the sweetness of solitude, my attitude looms in the gloom of a few. Cordoned off for being too shy, why? 'Cause I expend energy rarely, 'cause rare energy is expensive, pensive to how messages are still pending, and only spend time with those genuine connections. Yet in this society, we only feel connected when we connect to a Wi-Fi signal. You can't even connect to my signals.
Yeah.
When sighs are signs that I don't feel alive here, that I need to leave to revive myself too often. I need to remind myself that extroverts only inflict extra hurt. Speak their words as if the world commands their existence. When they list the things they think are bliss, so vital, rather than listen without going viral. A spiral of spiteful comments, a comet that comes when shyness is seen as a con. Dressed in the costume of Comic Con, it's funny being the icon that cons their eyesight when their eyes sign on to benefit from a full sense of welfare. When wellness is fared as a popularity contest, the power struggle that echoes being louder equates to having the personality. Admiration, when you think you can win the crowd but can't win a crown, like masked crowns shadowed by misty clouds. They hide that elusive pain, painted within the sunsets of being liked, knowing that it's the stroking of our egos, the quick dopamine rush that is so frequently sought after, instead of seeking what is really worth talking about, what is really worth time and energy, it's really worth building. So yes, silence is spoken, mistaken as shyness. It traps rather than frees, my mind freezes. I'm tired of the knots on my tongue-tied when I try to subvert the narrative that conversations need to be larger conversations, instead of the small talk we use to disguise ourselves as the social butterflies, when really we are the caterpillars we kill in need of pleasing everyone else. Thank you. This one's called Butterflies. It's actually a coincidence because I wrote this before Lay Speaks and asked me to be on his track called The Butterfly Effect. So if you haven't checked it out, you should definitely check it out. It's amazing. Like the whole EP's completely smashed it.
Metamorphosis.
Yeah, so this is called Butterflies. Butterflies beautify the insides of my mind until insides draw blinds to bind the lines secreted between palms, releasing cocoon thoughts. Thawed ice melts hard exteriors. A myriad of mirrors reflect glass, breaking perception. I breathe heartbeats, inflection, racing like that time I lost track of tracing. How many goosebumps could watch the race? Find the air trapped in hair standing upright. Left my feelings to fight the wrongs, the birthright. It is never my birthright to claim monopolies on emotion. To scrabble for the letters, to make the words fit into checkmates. Power always rained on us, showered our love in mood swings. Mouths unable to articulate battleships between us. How we sink our lips like tongues we hiss. As snakes trip ladders, it's always a risk when we don't have a clue, though. How to connect four wires in our souls and phones in our hands and eyes attached to screens instead of each other. Distant, like skin distant from shivers and spine no longer bending to butterflies entering. Endorphins swimming to sharks instead of dolphins. Rushing to catch a virus on a tube for you exist on iPhones buffering. The culture of eyes instead of weeds, weeds instead of seeds, where growth is diminished by being unable to finish the start of the beginning. Thank you.